One, test two. Test one, test two. Welcome in, everyone. There we go. Got voice mod back. Welcome in, folks. Where we last left off, AG and Leon had their meeting. That was this chapter. I'm going to reread it in order to warm up for the next one. But first and foremost, we have some announcements. Thank you, Nitro Dynamite 18, for the follow. I am also going to be replacing Dice Folk in my weekly lineup. Deltarune is finally releasing in like 2 days. And for my birthday, Mom got me a Steam gift card. So I'm going to use it all and buy it and maybe a couple other games for us to play here on stream if there's anything left. But yes, Deltarune will be replacing Dice Folk, and I hope that it will be an interesting experience. I'd never played Undertale, and Deltarune just seems like the kind of game I'd like to play, whereas Undertale didn't. I don't know why. I know the plot of Undertale because it's been spoiled for me like a bazillion times, but Deltarune I've managed to stay relatively spoiler-free, so here's hoping. Beyond that, I think that takes care of... Oh, I will also be a little bit more exhausted on my Monday streams. I now work 6 days a week at my daily dose of capitalism. The only day I have off is Wednesdays, and that is exclusively reserved for therapist and psychiatry appointments, because having more than one person inside your brain really fucking messes with your brain. I don't know why that seems to escape people, but yeah, having a mental disability sucks. Anyway, let us get started. Leon Alexander, 19, the same age as Eiji, is an American student at Tokyo's University of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Leo, it's been forever! Yeah, it's good to see you again. Leon spoke fluent Japanese, which was a help. We last saw each other in elementary school, right? Yep, I went back to America as soon as we went to middle school, Leon said with an easy smile. Oh, that's right. Your dad was a professor at Tokyo Electrical, right? You've got a good memory. And you really grew up. I remember being the bigger one when we were kids. Leon wasn't just taller, either. He was bigger all around. Eiji figured he must be hitting the gym or playing some kind of sports. Look, we could stand and chat forever, but let's find a spot to sit, Leon said. Eiji got a pass from the front desk, stepped through the gate, and made his way to the cafe inside DDL. The cafe security was lighter relative to the rest of DDL, and was far and away less tightly controlled than the D4 division. He bought a drink and sat down at the table. Sorry, Leon, sorry. Nah, Leo's fine. You're the only one who ever called me that. Believe it or not, Leo said with a laugh. AG tried to cast his mind back, but his memories prior to elementary school were an indistinct haze of shapes and colors. He watched as Leon took something out, as if to kickstart the conversation. A keychain-style Digimon dock. It was several generations old and sported a monochrome LCD screen. Oh my gosh, that's a dock! I thought it was a gaming handheld, AG squealed. Leon had raised Digimon with this very dock, some 7 or 8 years ago. I didn't know anything about the digital world then either. I was singularly focused on raising Digimon, Leon said wistfully. Looking carefully at the back of the device, AG noticed it was made by Aberdeen Electronics. It still worked, but there weren't any Digimon in it. Wow, this takes me back. So many memories just bubbled up, AG said, opening an opportunity for the pair to retrace their childhoods. At the time, Leon was completely absorbed by raising Digimon on a handheld game that wasn't sold on the market. Then he got into a different middle school than AG, and they slowly drifted apart. Shortly after, Leon heard from his parents that they were returning to America. It all happened so suddenly, and had to do with his father's job. The offer itself was fantastic, but if I had known, I wouldn't have bothered with those entrants. Apologies. As I said, I needed a chapter to warm up. If I'd known, I wouldn't have bothered with those entrance exams, Leon said with a measure of exhaustion. Yeah, I bet. Leon felt lonely at the time, but friendships at that stage of life change on a whim. Even changing classes was enough to break them, never mind changing schools. Even now, AG hadn't bothered to keep in touch with his high school friends, and so it goes. Sometimes, though, life provides chance reunions like this. Leon held out his arm, revealing a smartwatch-like Digimon linker. A holoized Digimon appeared, sparks shooting off its body. AG was sure he'd be shocked by the fairy-esque creature if he got too close, despite knowing it was nothing more than a video. This is Pulsemon, Leon said. Yeah, this was the one you were raising all those years ago, AG said excitedly. Creature hadn't changed one bit. AG holoized Lugumon from his own Digimon linker, which was permitted within DDL. The two rookie Digimon looked at each other in silence from across the table. They hadn't exactly had a prolonged battle with one another while on the X Nation's server, yet the air was tense. Lugumon narrowed its eyes and kept them fixed on the jauntily bobbing Pulsemon across the table. Be cool, you're both holoized. Nothing's gonna happen. AG and Leon turned their attention away from their Digimon and continued catching one another up on their lives. Though they never consciously labeled one another best friends, had you asked them at the time, they would likely have said the other's name in response. AG still held Leon in high regard, his memories of that time perfectly crystallized in his mind. Leon felt the same. Probably. Not that it mattered. They were far too young to go around trapping themselves in some imagined nostalgic past conjured out of distant memories. I'm impressed, turning the conversation to more serious matters. It didn't take you long to find my contact info. Leon, or Judge the famous hacker, was the one who sent a message offering to meet up in the first place. You moved, didn't you? Your old house is gone. Leon was right. AG had moved out of his family home. He hadn't been back, and wasn't about to go out of his way to see it, but he'd heard it was due to be torn down and replaced by an apartment building. That seemed to be the way of things these days. Oh, yeah, I'm, living on my own these days. Same. Leon lived in an apartment building in the Denrin district. A one-room apartment with 3 tatami mats in size. You too? I'm a hacker, so... AG briefly wondered why Leon hadn't sent him a message on Grim, but there were a ton of dummy accounts on the channel SOC server that must have made his harder to locate. Yeah, but you're not just a hacker. You're in Japan, and a student at Tokyo Electrical, no less. AG mentioned that he sometimes came to DDL for work when Leon texted, and so they'd agreed to meet up. Studying here has been my goal ever since we moved. Indeed, this was the best place for anyone looking to learn more about Digimon or the digital world. It was one of the toughest Japanese universities to get into, and only a handful of those who were accepted actually got to work with Professor Rosigi. Which brings me to the second surprising thing. You're one of Professor Rosenji's students. I've been working with him as well, Eiji said, proudly emphasizing the last part. Leon recounted his history with the eccentric professor. He said, "You look like you do a fine job raising it with love and care, so I'm giving this dock to you," and handed it to me. Leon said, recalling how he'd come to be in possession of his first dock. So Professor Rosenji gave you the Kichon dock, then. Huh. The world had never felt smaller, or more dense with meaningful connections. Eiji couldn't help but be awed by the story of how Leon came to be a hacker contracted by DBL. He'd even accompanied Professor Rosenji on overseas trips to various meetings and academic conferences. You're basically his apprentice, then? Eiji asked. More like his personal assistant. He still operates all this independently. When would he possibly have time to purchase tickets or reserve a hotel room? Oof, that doesn't sound like your strong suit, right? I met the professor a lot more recently. I can still count the number of times we've met, I'll put it that way. I had no idea. It must have been weird to get a job offer from him, seeing as how you're a code cracker. Like, some wires got crossed on the internet. Yeah, for sure. What a small world. Eiji took a sip from his drink. I see your dock is also Aberdeen's latest? Leon glanced at Eiji's arm as he picked up his paper cup. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. See, you've got the same one in a different color. Yep. The professor gave it to me for a job. The Digimon, too. Oh, and keep this between us, yeah? It's some sort of testing and Digimon raising job. Eiji, these Digimon linkers are more important than you realize, Leon said, visibly stiffening. Oh yeah? They're highly classified Aberdeen electronics devices. I thought I was the only one aside from the police who had one. I've got to say, I'm a little ticked to find out that's not the case, he said, a bit too sharply to be joking. Eiji sat in silence for a moment. A digital world researcher personally reaching out to a code cracker for a job isn't the weird part. It's rarer than hiring a hacker, but not unheard of, Leon continued. Yeah, like, go get me this rare Digimon, right? I think it was a Madoki Betamon that I caught for him, Eiji interjected. He does like his Betamon. But my point is that he should have asked me, his actual pupil, to do this job instead of the code cracker. Eiji sat in stunned silence. Was Leon jealous? Eiji put himself in Leon's shoes. He definitely had a longer relationship with the professor, who personally introduced him to the world of Digimon. Leon was a true believer, a passionate fan of Professor Rosenji's work, not that Eiji wasn't. Yeah, and if we'd actually fought back there, we would have won, Pulsemon added. What'd you say, Static Shock? Eiji was still processing the rather blunt words being hurled at him. He flinched at the booming voice next to him. It's obvious, pup. I can go all the way to Mega, and you, Lugamon, right? Have your hands full maintaining champion level, which is adorable, by the way. You little. The two Digimon carried on at length about which one would win if they fought, which was now its own battle. That's enough, Lugamon, we get it. You used to run an entire district, but you're still no match for a Mega Digimon, Eiji hissed. So none of this bothers you? Lugamon growled, its fur standing on end. Eiji tried to connect the dots in his head. If Leon and Pulsemon could get all the way to Kazuchimon, then that must put them near the top of the pack in terms of hackers. If Eiji were A tier, they were S tier, if not double S tier. Same goes for you, Pulsemon. Can it? Leon said. I can't help it. Lugamon keeps antagonizing me. Pulsemon whined, smugly acting as though it had done nothing wrong. I don't care. Eiji and I were friends. I was weak, but he stood up for me. Leon was a wisp of a child, and often silent in class, which curiously made him stand out more. Eiji, however, was always right there beside him. So what? Is he one of these friends you humans always talk about? I don't know where to start with all that. At least come up with a hierarchy. Can you make sense of it, Lugamon? Pulsemon asked with maximum condescension. No. what else could possibly matter, aside from who's stronger? I suppose their biological sex holds some amount of significance. It does seem to help them make more of each other, Pulsemon said, laying bare Digimon's thoughts on humanity. I thought your weakness, as you put it, was just you doing your own thing, Eiji finally said, leaving the Digimon to their banter. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen you cry or anything. This whole weak thing didn't square with Leon, Eiji knew. Yeah, I guess not, Leon said, nodding. I think you're the only person other than my dad who actually understood me, and that's why I took to you. Oh? Pulsemon, it's not about who's stronger or weaker. What matters is that the strong protect the weak. Yeah, listen to him, Lugumon. You know I've looked down on you the whole time, haven't you? You have? Ah, what is that? It's so cute! A shriek of delight startled them both. Hatsune from the reception desk had drifted over to the table and brought a friend who couldn't contain her excitement. Everything okay, Hatsu? Hello, Eiji. Hello, Leon. Do you two know each other, or did Professor Rasenji introduce you? Oh, Leon and I. We went to elementary school together, Leon said, both finishing the thought and cutting Eiji off. Oh, wow, so you went to school in America, Eiji? The surprise in her voice was palpable. No, Leon went to school here in Japan. Ah, so that's why you're fluent in Japanese, eh, Leon? The pieces were sliding into place for her. Hatsune's friend, meanwhile, was utterly transfixed by Pulsemon and Lugumon. She was a recent DDL hire who knew Hatsune through school, though they hadn't been in the same class. Her semi-long hair was done up in very intricate braids, and it was clear that she had never seen a hololized Digimon before. Why, hello there, pretty lady, Pulsemon chirped, unbothered by the attention. Like what you see, Lugumon said, not necessarily displeased by the attention. Stop it, Lugumon, don't harass her, Eiji snapped. Eh? What's gotten into you, Eiji? Hi there, are you interested in Digimon? Eiji asked, hastily making nice with Lugumon. Oh, I mean, I don't know. This is Eiji Nagasumi, a contractor who is friendly with Professor Rasenji. And you might already know Leon. He's a hacker who works for us. Hatsune cut in to keep things from going too far off the rails and introduce her colleague to Leon and Eiji. Wow, a hacker! DDL's hackers were known to be among the best. They're both just 19 years old, too. Younger than us. Not that we needed a reminder. Hatsune went on, trying to cut things short. Oh my gosh, so young and handsome. Okay, let's not harass anyone. Hatsune desperately tried to peel her friend away, who was now obviously looking over in Leon's direction any chance she got. The Digimon had clearly been just an excuse to come over and chat. Such grievous harm is the direct result of the cyber attack perpetuated by criminal code crackers, and we are likely to attack with fury the likes of which has never been seen before. A large monitor hung from the cafe's ceiling, and the news was playing the dictator of the X Nation's response to the cyber attack. Everyone turned to watch. Another code cracker attack, Hatsune's friend said with disgust. Even as a DDL employee, she didn't have much reason to think about the digital world or the truth behind Digimon crimes. Sure, she had seen a Digimon or two now, but she wasn't necessarily any better informed than someone off the street and didn't have to be. The attack on the server, the dictator's fight to keep the SOC from taking the nation state's secret machine Dramon, the interruption from the hacker who goes by Judge, all D4 classified, naturally. Hackers and code crackers were a distinction without much of a difference when you got down to it. Code crackers are just hackers with fewer ethical hang-ups around breaking the law. Evil hackers, if you like. It's been like that since the early days of the network, well before the discovery of the digital world. Those who work to stop code crackers from committing crimes are colloquially known as ethical hackers. Are code crackers really that unpopular? Eiji said, almost on reflex. He regretted it immediately. I mean, my high school and university definitely had clubs for those sorts of people. They tended to attract depressed kids, or really dangerous types with no one in between. I mean, they're basically a recruitment pipeline for the criminal underworld, right? Oof. I read that as if it were Leon instead of the colleague. Hold on. Going back. I mean, my high school and university definitely had clubs for those sorts of people. They tended to attract depressed kids, or really dangerous types, with no one in between. I mean, they're basically a recruitment pipeline for the criminal underworld, right? Hatsune's young colleague may as well have stabbed Eiji in the chest with a knife. Sure, but suppose a codecracker struck it rich. There was one pretty popular group on campus that attracted some girls, but it's not like there's any future in it either way, she said, casually passing judgment on Eiji. She and Hatsune then excused themselves, not wanting to get in the way of Eiji and Leon's reunion. The hollow-eyed Digimon saw them off. Well, they seemed nice, didn't they, Lugomon? Who impressed you more? It was Hatsune's colleague for me. My sweet summer child, I'd want Hatsune to have my back any day of the week. You think? Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. How are you two so good at just getting along with anybody? Eiji sighed despondently. Why were they even engaging in this kind of talk? Digimon didn't have biological sexes or genders, for the most part. What's got you down, Eiji? Lugomon asked. He's probably just realized how unpopular codecrackers are, Pulsemon chimed in. There's no need to be so blunt about it, Pulsemon, Leon chided. It was too late, however. Eiji's heart had already been torn to shreds. Deep down he knew that codecracking wasn't a glamorous job. The people had an overwhelmingly negative view of it. Leon looked at Lugomon and Pulsemon and let out a slight chuckle. We shouldn't be calling Digimon AI programs, he began. What are you talking about? Eiji said lazily. We should be calling them AI life forms. I mean, just look at how our partner Digimon have formed a mutual trust with one another. That means Digimon can probably befriend one another, Leon replied, looking lovingly at the two Digimon before him. Befriend one another, huh? Do you think they can, Eiji? Eiji studied Leon's face. It wasn't the look of someone being wistful or that of a college student discussing crushes or what have you. Was this the face of his alter ego, Judge? Eiji opted to answer from a codecracker's perspective. I mean, until recently, I've always thought of them as tools. Ever since I became a codecracker. Naturally, that had been your only interaction with the digital world, I imagine. Yeah, I can't deny that. But getting the Digimon linker and meeting Lugomon has changed my perspective. And since you met Professor Senju. Yeah, that's only changed it further. Mind linking with Lugomon and being able to talk to one another. Lugomon's got an entire history. All these Digimon have lives, you know? As does Pulsemon, like you and me or anyone else. If Lugomon could build a relationship with others and not just Eiji, well, that was all the more proof that they were life forms, not programs, each with their own personalities and quirks. So what is Lugomon to you now? My partner, my pal, for life, Eiji said without hesitation. Good, Leon said, relaxing his jaw. You haven't completely lost your soul to the codecrackers, then. What do you mean by that? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You need to quit this codecracking nonsense. I want you to wash your hands of these Digimon-abusing criminals, Eiji. At last, the real reason Leon had agreed to have a little reunion came into focus. He knew it would come up sooner or later. Hackers couldn't abide codecrackers, and what hackers considered justice left no room for the freedom codecrackers so desperately wanted to protect. Quit codecracking? That's not going to happen, Eiji said flatly, eliciting an annoyed grunt and obvious displeasure from Leon. I won't sugarcoat it for you either. I envy you. Not only are you studying abroad, you're doing it at a prestigious university like Tokyo Electrical, and your part-time job is at DDL, for crying out loud. So forgive me if I'm a little salty hearing that from you. AG was never good at equivocating either. Not if Leon was going to be so brutally honest in trying to get AG to quit by pushing his perverse version of justice onto another human being. What do you mean by that? Leon sensed there was something more behind the outburst. Listen, man, I started code cracking just to survive. If I quit, I'm going to be working some crappy part-time job for crappy pay. I'm 19. I'm in the real world with real responsibilities, and that kind of job just isn't gonna cut it for me. You didn't go to college? The AG I remember always had test scores at least as good as mine. Where? Tokyo Electrical? Hell, I got a B on one of the mock exams. I thought I was gonna make it, AG said with a sigh. Did something happen? A bit of worry crept into Leon's face as he asked the question. AG finally had the chance to control the conversation, and he wasn't about to pass it up. He just wished it was about anything but this. WWW Flight 626. AG said softly. Leon gasped, then fell silent. So you know the story. Look, I don't want to talk about it. WWW Flight 626, Pulsman interjected. It proceeded to read out the date, but it was garbled beyond recognition, perhaps due to redaction. Pulsman continued. Flight 626 departed Tokyo before making unauthorized changes to its flight path. Air traffic lost all contact, and the plane eventually crashed into the Pacific Ocean. All aboard were killed. Registered passengers numbered in the triple digits. The flight recorder was never found. The Digimon then pulled up a number of entries from online encyclopedias about the incident to make things a bit easier for Leon. Do we know what caused the accident, Pulsman? AG asked pointedly. Though it has not been officially acknowledged, the prevailing theory suggests the crash was a Digimon crime, Pulsman answered. Said prevailing theory was widely circulated among hackers and codecrackers in the know. Did you lose your parents on that flight? AG asked carefully. I did, AG said, gently nodding his head at Lugumon, who hadn't heard any of this before. He thought of the small altar in his one-room apartment. Leon looked a bit shaken now, ever since the mention of Flight 626. He'd met AG's parents several times when they went to play in the river together. They weren't faceless passengers on that flight any longer. Your parents were on that flight, but why? It was a trip for their silver wedding anniversary. They left me at home and were all set to go to America, AG said wearily. He noticed something odd. Leon seemed about to let out some sort of noise, but stifled it at the last moment. Had his parents' death really shocked him to the same degree when it happened? He didn't really remember having time for things like shock among everything else. In fact, this was the first time he'd dug it out of the recesses of his memory, let alone spoken to anyone about it. I had no idea what was happening, AG rasped, his voice trembling as he fought back tears. The house was all tied up in the mortgage with a guarantor attached. My parents' life insurance policies. I sold the house, and that was when it hit me that every sign of weakness, AG would dare him to say it. But if you lost your parents to an act of Digimon crime, allegedly, how could you possibly continue code cracking? Leon was visibly shaking now, but his mind was still following a hacker's line of reasoning. What a ridiculous question. The Digimon aren't the criminals. The people that force them to commit the crime are. Digimon are just tools to code crackers, and I don't use them to take human lives, AG said calmly. Leon sat in silence. I'm doing it to eke out a living. I'm not proud of it. I had no other choice. But Professor Asenji taking notice of my work has made me proud of it for the first time in ages. You've admired him and worked with him even longer than I have. You of all people should understand how incredible that feels. Professor Asenji expected great things of AG, which proved to him that this was the right and perhaps only path for him. What does the professor have you doing, AG? It's more than just raising Lugumon, isn't it? Leon asked quietly. I'm not at liberty to say, AG replied. You had to keep it confidential. You're in the SOC, though, so I have my guesses. Look, AG, Stop right there, AG said, lifting up the palm of his hand into the air in front of Leon's face. If we keep talking, I absolutely will tell you everything. Leon was still a dear friend to AG, for whom it felt like no time had passed since they were in school together. But no one can live in the past forever. It's time, AG, Lugumon said, its ears perking up. Oh yeah, I have to go. It's time for my appointment with Professor Asenji, AG said, standing up from the table. Professor Asenji? Yep, codecracker stuff. Good luck with all the studying and whatever. I'll see you around, and hopefully we can skip the heavy, complicated stuff next time. Maybe over drinks once our birthdays roll around. Pulsmon made a See you later gesture at Lugumon and Ag as they got up from their seats. Here, this is for you, Pulsemon said and handed something to Lugumon. What is it? Lugumon asked, taking it away. Anyway, it looked like a bundle of compressed files. It's a present. Catch you later. I want a personal tour of the Castle of Nine Wolves someday. I want to go deep into the wall slum, Pulsemon chirped as Ag and Lugumon walked away. Ag headed straight for Professor Rasinji's office after his reunion with Leon in the DDL cafe. Morning. Everything's running a little bit behind today, just by 15 minutes or so, the professor said through mouthfuls of late lunch as he worked on the latest Digimon analysis. The study of Digimon was seemingly never-ending and encompassed myriad fields. The biological study and classification of Digimon, the use of Digimon as AI tools for system engineering, the environmental study of the digital world itself, and sociological studies of Digimon's impact on humans were all underway. And yet, there was Professor Asinji constantly pushing the research forward and seeking to experience the digital world firsthand. What is study without observation and collection? Oh, sorry for interrupting then, Ag said hurriedly to show his contrition. Not at all. Oh, one of my students is coming by later. A student? Well, former student. It probably wasn't Leon, in other words. Ag let out a sigh of relief. The SOC's, the details of the X Nation's data server are exactly as described in the report, Ag said. So they were after that state-secret Digimon after all. The X Nation lost their cyber-terrorism weapon, but Machine Dramon was also destroyed, which means the SOC's big operation was a failure, Rusenji said, rattling off his assessment of the situation. Their leader, Tartarus. I think he's collecting secret, mega-level Digimon. I don't know why yet, but I somehow doubt they're just an innocent collector. I'm inclined to agree. One of the SOC's leaders, Marvin, was briefly incapacitated in the battle, but managed to recover. The whole mind link limit thing feels a lot more real now that I've seen what can happen. It's no joke. Everyone makes mistakes under pressure, no matter how talented. Especially when things don't go according to plan. Not even I'm immune to it, the professor opined, turning his gaze towards Ag. Totally. You panic, or see something you can hardly believe, and you make a poor judgment call, or... Even the greatest shogi players will make poor decisions when they've only got 1 minute left on the clock. But in the heat of battle, the time spent mind-linking is more important than whether or not you're fighting a Digimon with similar specs. You survived that fight with that hacker's Digimon because you kept time on your side. I guess that's your way of saying we would have lost if we tried to fight them heads-on. Lugumon growled, looking dejected. As ever, Lugumon hated losing. Lugumon didn't like that explanation, I see, the professor said, gesturing in the Digimon's direction. Next time, we're gonna trounce that little static shock. In order to do that, you'll need to digivolve, at least to ultimate level for starters. Ultimate form, Lugumon said, his eyes wide with excitement. What would Lugumon's ultimate form even look like? Ag had to ask. What will that look like, Professor? Whatever form Lugumon takes, it won't be right or wrong. Just like all the creatures on Earth that have evolved the way they have. Every creature was part of an ongoing experiment to see just what was possible with their evolutionary choices, the professor seemed to be suggesting. Sure. Sorry. Sure. Hey, Ag, get me to my ultimate form, Lugumon barked excitedly. You got it, Ag chirped, turning to face Lugumon. I found valuable data on Machine Dramon, whom you could easily call the worst Digimon terrorist in human history. I should have liked to capture it, even if that meant sorting through its scraps. That hacker got in my way. The hacker was, I know, Leon Alexander, my student, and the hacker known as Judge. Rusenji said, bringing up a monitor with Kazuchi-on's picture on it. Ag let out a sigh of relief. You knew but didn't tell me. Here I was thinking I'd have to break the news to you, but I kept overthinking and twisting myself into knots. I was just talking with Leon in the cafe. So you were. Look, I'm not gonna get fired, am I? Why would I fire you? Well, Leon doesn't seem to think highly of my being a code cracker. What Leon does or doesn't think about this, or that has no bearing on my judgment of you and never will, Professor Sinji said sternly. His was the final word, he said in so many words. Whew, I'm glad to hear you say that, Eiji exhaled. He was finally at ease. The idea that he would lose his job over a friendship from elementary school was pretty ridiculous now that he thought about it. Now, putting all that aside, I have heard that you were the only one to whom he showed the Digimon and Digimon doc that I gave him all those years ago. So all of this feels very fated, in a way. That's right. I was pretty happy about that. Eiji, as it happened, had always been connected to the professor through Leon. He just wasn't aware of it at the time. As you would be. So, I hate to sound like I'm reporting someone to the teacher, but he also said he didn't like the thought of me coming in and out of your office. He thought it might tarnish your reputation to be seen working with a code cracker. He's... how shall I put this? Professor Sinji hesitated, his fingers working through the air as if grasping for the right words. He's unique, but uncomplicated. I find that an admirable quality, and he's always been that way. Okay, so he's got his own way of looking at things, and once he's made up his mind, that's it. That's the just answer, did you said? Which ordinarily would get a child knocked down a peg. Told not to pretend to be nice, that sort of thing. But he was undeterred. Now as an adult, he has the power to smash through all that, in the real world and on the network. Leon was a student at an elite school, a hacker working directly for Aberdeen Electronics, and powerful enough to control a megalith Digimon. He was flawless compared to his peers. I didn't mention anything about you hiring me to look into the SOC, of course, but I think he suspects something. Eiji continued, reassuring Professor Sinji. So, aha! I get it now. You're worried Leon thinks you got in the way of his work, but being my student, you can't very well engage him and take him out, so you're wondering how to handle him. Yes, of course. Professor Sinji flitted from point to point, furiously connecting dots. Well, no, it's not about fighting him. Just given the situation, he could leak that I'm spying on the SOC. From a hacker's perspective, Eiji thought, the intersenine quarrel in the SOC would be welcome. I'll think about how to handle the hacker judge. You just continue to... Professor Sinji was cut off by the phone in his office ringing. His next appointment had arrived. Eiji excused himself, cut the hololization, and returned Lugumon back to the Digimon linker. I'll just be getting on my way. Wait a minute, I forgot to tell you I contacted Tartarus. Professor Sinji stopped to push the bridge of his glasses back up his nose at the news. And was Tartarus well? I only heard their voiceover chat. I heard a bunch of interesting tidbits, though, like how on all the operations Tartarus has led, not a single person has gone DMIA, and that Tartarus is looking for a black Agumon. A figure darkened the glass door of Professor Sinji's office. He motioned for them to come in. Eiji passed Professor Sinji's former student, a tall woman who sent a chill through Eiji's body as soon as he saw her. Thank you, Professor, she said as Eiji hurried by, her head down. She glanced at him as he whooshed past, but didn't seem to pay him any mind. He heard a faint good morning through the door as he left. Eiji passed through the security checkpoint and made his way towards the reception desk in the lobby. Oh, hello, Eiji. Good to see you, and thanks for the impromptu chat earlier, Hatsune said, lifting her head up towards Eiji. Hey, are you free tonight? Let's go get some Monojaki. Lugumon's voice rang out from the Digimon linker. Shush, you're not allowed to talk outside the checkpoint, remember? Dronis, there. How are you? How are you doing? You saw the Wiz message? Yeah, I saw your message, Wiz. It's just... I'm zoning in on the reading, trying to get... I'm not very good at doing character voices, which is ironic, given that I have dissociative identity disorder. I'm not good at doing voices, and I want to become a voice actor eventually. Like, I want by the time I'm 40 to at least have a few voice acting creds under my belt. But I've only got 10 years to get that done, so... I have to improve my skills somehow, which is why we're doing the reading, and since I haven't read this before, it helps. Back to the top of the paragraph. Lugamon's voice rang out from the Digimon linker. Shush! You're not allowed to talk outside the checkpoint, remember? AG Whisper yelled in a panic. A few of the people waiting in the lobby turned to look at him. You could feel their eyes on him, judging him for propositioning Hatsune so publicly. My goodness, your Digimon's asked me out, Hatsune said with a giggle. Just saying what AG's thinking. Like a good little sidekick, Lugamon said smugly. Oh, that's enough out of you! AG snarled, muting his Digimon linker. Anyway, Hatsune, he continued, desperate to regain control of the conversation. That woman who just came to see Professor Senji, she's with the police, isn't she? All it took was one look at her uniform, but he had to know for sure. Yeah, Hatsune said, lowering her voice. Someone from the Digimon unit of the city police. I knew it. She was probably from the Digipolice. At least that's what AG's codecracker instincts told him. Professor Senji has a lot of influence with the police, so she comes by the lab every so often, Hatsune whispered. He said she's a former student of his. Really? That's news to me. Do you know her name or anything? AG asked, his voice now barely audible. Shu Yulin, Metropolitan Police Department. She's tall and beautiful, I'll give her that. Are you into older women or something? Shu Yulin. She was of Chinese descent then. But AG guessed she had to be a Japanese citizen if she was on the police force. He handed his pass over to Hatsune. So, Hatsu, how about that monja? AG asked. It was worth a shot. Lugamon had already opened the door. Hatsune thought quietly for what felt like an eternity. AG's eyes widened. For you? Sure. You've got a job. You seem decently mature, and truth be told, I've got something I want to discuss with you. Here's my Grim handle. Digimon was not a Fox Channel original series. Digimon was a Japanese franchise that Fox licensed. But, yeah. Toei Animation handled the English localization, if I'm remembering correctly, of the first 2 seasons. And then it was a different studio for season 3 onward. Now, localizations are all ran through a bunch of smaller companies, unless it gets the original cast back together, in which case. But back to the story. AG's phone buzzed. It was a text message that read, Hatsune Mocha. AG's heart was pounding in his chest. Something you want to discuss, you said. I'll message you later. It's something I can't talk to anyone else about. The lights in Leon's Denrin District Tower apartment came on and soft music began playing as he opened the door. What'll it be? Food? A bath? Pulsemon's hollow-eyed form chirped. The heck? Leon asked, startled by Pulsemon's hospitality. I picked it up from Lugamon. It's polite to greet your superior when they come home. Oh, brother, you're not my underling, Pulsemon. Besides the security system, heating and cooling, water, electricity, and everything else in the apartment was connected to and managed through the network. Leon relied on his Digimon more as an AI assistant than anything else, and he had something for Pulsemon to chew on. I do want you to look something up, though. Search for the passenger manifest of WWW Flight 626, right? Whether this is the AI's learning effect, or whether it's Digimon's habit of being thoughtful is a matter of debate. The massive monitor on the living room wall lit up with a complete list of the passengers. Pulsemon had known Leon long enough to anticipate what he would ask for next. Most Digimon who share a long history with their partner, humans, could anticipate their needs, whether it constituted an advanced AI learning a user's patterns, or it was simply a Digimon being thoughtful was, again, the source of furious debate. Was this what you wanted? Pulsemon asked, watching Leon silently. Sorry. Oh, I see. This is another one in the long series of typos. Okay. Was this what you wanted? Pulsemon asked, watching Leon. Leon silently contemplate the lists. Ah. Back it up. Try again. Was this what you wanted? Pulsemon asked, watching Leon silently contemplate the list. There we go. Leon set down his bag and emptied the contents of a smaller bag he'd received from the pharmacy onto a small tray. He took out a bottle of water and downed the capsules with a swig from it. Yeah, trauma, Leon said quietly to himself, but I have to face it. Face my weak, immature past self. Search the passenger list. Searching. 2 hits for Japanese passengers, cross-referencing with the post office next door, chatting excitedly. He groaned and checked the time on his Digimon linker. There was no point in getting up if it was too early. Awake at last, AG? Morning, Lugumon. Any messages for me? AG asked, looking for Lugumon. He wasn't up in the loft, which meant he was down below. You can check them yourself. All right, AG muttered, picking up his phone without so much as sitting up. He scrolled through the latest topics of conversation on Grimm. It felt like there were more DMs every day. You got a message. Oh, sorry. Got a thank you gift from Marvin. What a good guy. I should get him something in return. You've got a message from Mocha on your public account. Who's Mocha? The receptionist at DDL? Lugumon said flatly. Right, Hatsune Mocha. You could have led with that. Forward it to me. I think my boyfriend is cheating on me. I was wondering if you could do a bit of quiet code cracking on his account for me, Lugumon said, intentionally conjuring the worst possible impression of Hatsune's voice. I regret asking you now, AG said, deflated. Of course she had a boyfriend. What a crummy way to start the morning. What did she think code crackers were? Code cracking another person's account was a crime. All downsides and risks, no possible benefits. Sounds like Mocha trusts you at least, Lugumon offered. That's so. Well, if you do find out he's cheating, they'll break up, right? Then she's single. How am I taking dating advice from a Digimon? AG couldn't believe the depths of Lugumon's interest in human relationships. Ooh, you've got one more message here. It looks like it's from channel SOC mod, marked important. What's that about? Says it's urgent. Wait, AG blurted out, finally processing what Lugumon had said. The SOC mod? The leader, tartar sauce or whatever. Lead with that next time. Jeez, if I ever get a message from them in the middle of the night, you wake me up. Why? You'd be furious. Ugh, never mind. AG huffed, furiously tapping his phone to get to his inbox. Inside was a message from Tartarus, as Lugumon said. Holy crap, it really is from Tartarus. It had to be. If it came from the Channel Mods account, there was no way it had been faked. Codecracker AG, your performance in the attack on the X Nation's data server was exemplary. Marvin thanks you from the bottom of his heart. We are happy to count such a talented codecracker among our ranks. We believe you are a Class A codecracker and would like to request your services once more. A personal request from the leader of the SOC already? AG kept reading. As you're aware, our operation was interrupted by a hacker and ended in failure. The X Nation's secret Digimon was also lost in the attack. No thanks to Judge the hacker. The message asked if AG would be able to exact revenge. He would carry this out in the name of the SOC's team of codecrackers. Didn't matter how AG did it, so long as he smashed Judge's reputation. Well, this took a turn, AG said quietly. Not taking action against the hacker Judge risked the SOC's reputation, the message argued. Set a bad precedent that would brand the SOC as timid losers. Organizations like the SOC couldn't afford to be seen as weak in the digital world if they were to make any money. It was also a test of AG's loyalty, directly from Tartarus. If he refused, that was the end of it. Tartarus would begin to have doubts and keep AG at a distance. There we go. Tartarus will take notice if I manage to defeat Leon. It was the fastest way to ingratiate himself with the leader by far and would fulfill his duty to Professor Rasenji. So you're gonna fight him? Lugumon asked. Yeah, I am. Which means you hate him now? I thought he was your friend. Lugumon asked, perplexed. Don't Digimon... Okay, for example, you had help, didn't you? You had friends in the 9th District, right? They were my minions. But they were on your side, right? It was an alliance of convenience and nothing more. Gave us better chances of surviving the wall slum, Lugumon said, with the sneaking suspicion that that exact explanation described the type of friendship. Even wild animals formed packs, whether with blood relations or not, in the struggle to survive. Who was to say there weren't friends among those packs? Well, what is a friend? There are friends of all different kinds, but someone who's fun to be around is a pretty common response. But I think of a friend as someone you want to do something for, even if it costs you something. Even if it costs you? I don't like the sound of that. Well, sure, I never said that's how you'd see it, Eiji replied. This friend business sounded too much like playing on hard mode, Lugumon thought. No, scratch that. Expert mode. But right now, I don't want to do anything for Leon, AJ said, turning over onto his side. The loft lodged against the wall, and not too far off the ceiling, suddenly felt coffin-like. Leon had everything he could want. AJ was jealous, sure. But didn't he have quite a lot going for him now, too? He hated twisting himself in mental knots like this, and so stopped thinking about it. So I'll have to fight Pulsemon. Mega Kazuchimon, you mean? Does that bother you? Eiji asked without rolling over. Nah, doesn't bother me. That little static shock always looks down on me, and I can't wait to knock him down a peg when I see him. I know, right? I'm not about to lose to Leon either. The desire to stand up for all codecrackers welled up within Eiji. He wasn't about to let Leon waltz in and take his job and professional relationship with Professor Asenji without a fight, nor was he about to let Leon interfere with his life over little more than his warped sense of justice. Nothing was more important to Eiji than his own freedom. I didn't even attend my own high school graduation. I had no idea what kind of face to put on. How do you look happy when you can't stop thinking about how you've been forced out of your own home? You wouldn't let anyone make him feel like that ever again. I'll Digivolve. We'll take out Pulsemon and Kazuchimon. I like your attitude, Eiji said, poking his head out from the loft. We'll take him out, and then what? Lugumon said, cocking his head. What do you mean, then what? I don't know. I've never felt this way before. The mind of a Digimon is just full of mysteries, isn't it? Don't tell me you're scared. Say that again, and I'll never link with you again. It would be a Digimon duel. Codecrackers and hackers always settled their differences on the network. Leon himself wasn't in any real danger, because Eiji was no murderer. All that was on the line was Leon's pride and the hacker's conception of justice. Now that I think about it, Lugumon, you got something from Pulsemon at the DDL cafe, right? What was that gift? Eiji remembered what happened yesterday. Don't open it. If there's a bomb inside, you'll be fine. Lugumon hololized the data. The box has not been opened and is still intact. Well, I can't open a present from a hacker, Eiji smiles bitterly. It may contain a computer virus. So how are you going to win, Eiji? We can't beat Leon and Kazuchimon right now. We can't beat them, but we'll digivolve until we win. It's good to be strong. Lugumon becomes positive about becoming stronger. Leon, I'll do it. I don't want to live a life where I'm just jealous of someone else. I'll win as a cracker with Lugumon. I'll break you, hacker, judge. Win Senji's trust, even if it meant pushing Leon, the professor's student, away because success in life lies ahead. Eiji began formulating a plan, dictating it to Lugumon as he went. He was ready to take Leon down a peg, just as Tartarus had asked. Alright. I'm going to take a quick break. I need to run to the restroom. Then when we pick up, we'll be starting part 10. Let me actually scroll down real quick. Scroll back up here in a moment. I just gotta get to the bottom of the page so I can see how many more sections I've got. I think the interlude is... Hold on. I think the interlude is chapter 13. So we've only got 4 more parts left to go in this act. Alright. So when we come back, we will start on part 10. And Hopefully, we'll be able to get through this part tonight. Not this part, this act, because I do want to start Act 3 next week. But yeah, I'll be back. Okay, there we go. And we're back. No hacker or code cracker has ever crossed through the firewall to explore the depths, as most people in the real world named it thanks to the gateway. The gateway itself is protected by a strong security layer that filters out real-world traffic to prevent data corruption. So long as this digital world security system remains in place, neither human nor Digimon will have an easy time getting in. Not even the Digimon in the wall slum have an easier time of it. But on the network, there's no such thing as an impenetrable firewall. Every so often, holes open up in the firewall. These holes and the disturbances they create, dubbed vortexes by those in the real world, resemble tornadoes and hurricanes. The vortexes have been known to get close to the wall slum, and on rare occasions directly threaten the lives of the Digimon that live there. Pulsemon zipped along, a bolt of lightning hopping from one place to the next, closing in on a set of coordinates. It was somewhere around here, Pulsemon said, once again taking its physical form in an area just beyond the rusted coast. The place was a dumping ground. Junk data flowed from the wall slum and piled up in this forgotten corner. Nevertheless, this was still part of the firewall, and the wall part of that was a rather loose term. It wasn't actually a solid wall, but more of a soft barrier. There was nothing like it anywhere on Earth. If there were a planet out in space made of, say, liquid metal, that would be the easiest comparison. I'm not picking up any readings like the one we're looking for, Pulsemon said as Leon mind-linked flipped over to see what Pulsemon was seeing. Let's head down there, Leon said. Pulsemon lowered itself onto the junk data. The ground was full of errors, shifting and glitching and buzzing beneath the Digimon's feet. It's just a floating island of garbage data from the wall slum, huh? Leon said, observing the surroundings. Game Freak can pay a large sum of money for voice acting in Pokemon games. If ever there's a recruitment for it, I mean, I'll go for it, but I'm still trying to get to the point where my voice can do all the stuff that most voice actors can do already. I haven't had vocal training since I was in college the first time, and that was years ago. So, it's just a floating island of garbage data from the wall slum, huh? Leon said, observing the surroundings. There wasn't so much as a scavenger Digimon in sight. It was strange, though. Looked a lot smaller from above, but now they were walking on it, it felt impossibly large, as it undulated out before them. There were no buildings, trees, or flowers on it. Just a bunch of meaningless flotsam all piled up in one spot. They might as well have walked into a piece of modern art. Leon looked out to the horizon. The firewall was clearly spherical. It was like Earth, no. Moon-like, perhaps even smaller than that. From the look of things, at least. And beyond the firewall, just on the other side of the squishy barrier, lay the depths. How big were they? How far did they go? What all was inside? A planet larger than Earth itself? Another solar system? Another galaxy? A cluster of galaxies? Maybe a comparatively vast and endless well of energy. All humanity had ever seen was the outer husk. You sure this isn't a bad tip, Leon? I don't think the leader of SOC would show up here, Pulsemon said warily. The moment it landed directly in my account, I knew it was good. It came from an informed source, Pulsemon. Whether it came from a hacker or a code cracker, who could say? Yeah, well, I didn't mean whether it was true or false. I mean, if it was given in good faith or bad. And it was exceedingly possible it was the latter. If it was a false rumor, at least we'll know. That's useful intel. If it's just fake, that's fine, but what if it's a trap? The SOC's still plenty ticked that you crashed their party on the X Nation server. Paul. Okay. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. My mother had just finished cleaning her dishes, and so she was letting me know I needed to go ahead and... Alright. Yeah, well, I didn't mean whether it was true or false. I meant if it was given in good faith or bad. And it was exceedingly possible it was the latter. If it was a false rumor, at least we'll know. That's useful intel. If it's just fake, that's fine, but what if it's a trap? The SOC's still plenty ticked that you crashed their party on the X Nation server. Oh, I had it backwards, hold on. If it was a false rumor, at least we'll know. That's useful intel. If it's just fake, that's fine. But what if it's a trap? The SOC is still plenty ticked that you crashed their party on the X Nation server, Pulsemon said, increasingly desperate to get Leon to see his side of things. If it's a trap, then we've hit the jackpot. All Leon had to do was turn the tables on the SOC and its legion of codecrackers. This place just looks dangerous is all, Pulsemon said uneasily, standing atop the flow of visual noise and garbage data. Stay sharp, Pulsemon! Uh-oh! Pulsemon yelped as the visual noise suddenly reached out and grabbed its leg. Howling fire! Gah! A fireball grazed Pulsemon as it tore through the air. Pulsemon backflipped out of the visual noise's grasp. A single smoldering line had been drawn down the island of garbage data, tracing the fireball's path. Well, that was unexpected, Pulsemon chirped, settling back into its battle stance. Hey, Pulsemon, Lugumon said, stepping into view. Hey, Elite Hacker. A Mind Link AG followed. Okay, someone was asked, what is your favorite Pokemon season? I've actually never watched Pokemon. Ever.